Hello and welcome. My name is Pat Roque, which sounds like you're okay. And this is the Thought Leadership Branding Club. We are here to talk about how to stay connected to get ahead in a hybrid world. And this is part of Thought Leadership Branding Club's special calendar of events for the month of March because it was Women's Day. But why should we only celebrate a day? Women deserve not only a month, we deserve every day to be a special day, to honor ourselves, to shine the light on our greatness and our zone of genius, to step forth, to be seen and to be heard, because we've got a lot on our minds and we're here to make an impact. Life is short, my friends, and we want to make sure that we are doing the best we can while we can. And so, with that, I am, again, Pat Roque. I am a Jersey girl now in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and just moving into a golf resort in Calabash, North Carolina. So say that 3 times fast. I am all about helping people elevate your expert status. So they call me the Rockstar Career Transformation Coach. It's not about me being a rock star. It's about you shining the light on your zone of genius. And Thought Leadership Branding Club was birthed about a year ago. We all met, some folks met on Clubhouse, which is the audio network, and became a steep and deep circle of expert friends. There are, oh gosh, over 50,000, I believe it's over 60,000 members around the world who come together to think out loud, to sharpen the sword, as they say, to brainstorm ways that we can be better, smarter, link arms, run faster, share great information. And it's about thought, leadership, branding. That is the gift of you figuring out your sweet spot, your zone of genius, and what you want to be known for, how you want to show up in the world. Because just like your thumbprint, you deserve to be honored and recognized and to step into that light, into your zone of genius, because life is short. So why make it harder than it has to be? We put our heads together and came up with a whole month filled with all kinds of amazing content to help lift each other's spirits. I always look at it as insights, innovation, and inspiration. And so I am happy to welcome my collaborator, my partner in crime, and LinkedIn buddy, thought leadership branding moderator extraordinaire, Melanie Wexler. So, Melanie, why don't you go ahead and say hello to our friends?
Well, thank you. And I've never had to type so fast. I was actually prepared. And it literally, everything just froze literally when I clicked. And so I was literally like, okay,
That
type.
is
What's my password? Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Wexler. I am a former recruiter. I was a recruiter for over 20 years in the staffing and recruiting as well as the corporate space. And I pivoted into becoming a career coach and really removing the curtain just like Oz and Dorothy did with the wizard, and what happens behind the scenes when it comes to getting hired, and now work with individuals across the United States, all levels of professionals, from college graduates to C-level executives, and helping them shape their careers from everything for their resumes to their LinkedIn profiles, and getting them ready and prepared mentally and emotionally for interviews. But I'm happy to be live with you today.
Thanks, Melody. So we had such an array of topics over the course of this month, both the things we've had and the things that are still coming forth, because we decided to lock arms and lift each other up and lift the women in our lives up and help men be better allies. So this is for you. If you're living and breathing, you're in the right place, because it's whether you identify as a woman and have come to realize things could be better, things should be better, things could be different, or damn, this is working really great. This is for you. And if you're figuring out who you are, figuring out your identity, figuring out where you fit in with the world, how you should be stepping forward and be seen, you're in the right place too. And finally, if you are someone who just wants to be a better ally, wants to understand what it's like from the woman's perspective, perhaps you're a friend, a spouse, a lover, a colleague of someone, and you'd love to be able to get inside that woman's head and understand their perspective and understand how to be a better supporter, how to be not just a passive friend, but an active ally, an activator to lift women up. Maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's the little girl down the street, maybe you were that little girl someday in the past. So think about, this message is for all of us. It's for all of you. And Melanie and I thought, how can we put our heads together? So LinkedIn is our favorite sandbox with
Yeah.
live visuals. Right? How's that? So we met on Clubhouse. So we were
Yep.
birthed in the land of meeting on audio. And because we decided that one of the things that's important is to share messages in all the different ways people learn and all the different places people hang out. Over the course of the month, we've done Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse Rooms and LinkedIn Audio. This is our LinkedIn Live, Instagram, Facebook. This is streaming out to Melanie's rooms
Yep.
and mine across the social media channels. And so we're bringing today's message about how to connect with LinkedIn Live and your other channels to get ahead in a hybrid world. So Melanie, talk to me a little bit about staying connected and why you love LinkedIn so much.
So, I've had this really weird relationship with LinkedIn because as a recruiter, I used it entirely different. I did not use it in a way that I use now. And I look back and like, man, there was so much potential that I left untapped had I really been using it in a different manner. So coming in, starting my own business, being, I knew my people were out on LinkedIn and I didn't, so I knew I had to show up differently. So I've really had a lot of, some of it being self-taught, but also learning from a lot of different individuals that just really understand the ins and the outs, the behind the scenes. And I really take that to being able to, now understanding how to build true relationships on LinkedIn with people that actually have some level of kind of investment in who I am. And so I really love for my clients to be able to experience that, not only from, it is a great platform, obviously, for you to find a job. But from that also standpoint, it is also a great way for you to develop and really nurture relationships that you have with people that maybe you never otherwise would have come across. So I think that's one of the things that is the biggest factors for me, is really developing these relationships that have allowed me to propel my business forward. And so whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a small business owner, or just a job seeker out there in the market, this platform can offer you a place for that, and it can offer you a place to how to show up.
Absolutely. And showing up as your authentic self, right?
Yeah,
Just do
definitely.
you.
Be you. Don't you have I tell people all this all the time. You have a voice. You have a perspective that nobody else has. And so that is your opportunity to truly show up and be that person, and to be able to offer that to others here on this platform.
Absolutely. So first of all, let's just say comparisonitis is a terrible disease. It's poison. It's where you sit and watch other people and either prejudge them because you think you know what they're about because you've seen them in a glimmer on social media, or you say, "Well, I must really suck because look at them, they're doing it and I can't." Well, I'm going to tell you, and Melanie can tell you, that we have all fumbled more than a few times. Melanie just said, right, her video locked up literally as she was stepping in to host this. Things happen. It happens, sometimes a lot. True story. I was doing a thought leadership program for one of the biggest companies on the planet with the entire employee resource group organization watching. And we had backups. We had done practice after practice, and the internet went down in the middle of my program. And the big video went to the size of a playing card. And I had to sit and tap dance with no notes, with no teleprompter, with no visual, and not knowing what the audience could see, but I had to keep going.
Yeah,
Just
that's
kept talking because guess what? When you're in these moments this is two girlfriends having a
Yeah.
conversation. You're another friend at the table. You can have a cocktail in your hand. You can have a soft drink in your hand. You can have your hefty dandy water bottle in your hand. I'm trying to drink 100 ounces a day. But why LinkedIn? Personally, I'm obsessed. I've been on a long time. I've got about almost 18,000 followers, connections. It's a lot. But I've literally met people from around the world. Back when I was traveling quite a bit, I would meet people in France and England and got invited to play and to speak at some of the nicest golf resorts on the planet. Real people sit on the other side of these screens. Well, most of the time, once in a while, there's trollers and other weirdos. But for the most part, I want you to keep in mind that LinkedIn is just a great platform for people who are in I'll say professional mindset. It's not meant to be Facebook on steroids, even though you're meant to be yourself and share your little bit about you and your personality,
Yeah.
of course, but real people live on LinkedIn and real people are on the other side. And so I guess if we had to sit and think about what are some of the rules of the road for doing well on LinkedIn to begin with, first of all, just do you. And second of all, remember these are real people. So when you're jumping into relationships, don't just be a gross, sleazy, slick salesperson, pitchy. If you were physically walking down a street and passing someone, you'd smile and say hi, see if
Yep.
there was something about them that might attract to you, something that sparked your curiosity. Or I mean, I smile at strangers all the time anyway, and I teach my clients to first I used to say find the brightest smile in a room and gravitate toward them, especially if you're walking in a networking room. And now I changed it and said you be the brightest smile in the room. But
Yep.
be yourself. It's a good tip. And relax about it. Smile. Don't be overly aggressive in how you approach it. Melanie, are you finding that I feel like if we can sprinkle some love and sprinkle some good advice and take questions from the audience as they come in, we're happy to do that. But have you had any experience with either the gross part of people rushing in to jump right past stranger and go straight into, I always say it's like they jump past the first date and try to go straight into what are we naming our second baby
Yeah.
together? Tell me about that a little bit. You're talking about staying connected and building relationships. Tell me about that. What
Yeah.
should you not
I mean,
do?
I think that people tend to be like, they think like, okay, I need to find that job. I need to land that job. I need to do, I need this or I need that. And it's, it's inherent as humans that we think of what our needs are and how we can take care of them. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a human trait that we all have. The thing you've got to remember, especially in a virtual setting, is we're still building this relationship. And just like you wouldn't, do advise not to suggest naming your second baby on or your first baby on the second date, but definitely you have to, it takes time. And so, patience has never been my virtue. It's never, and I don't know that it will ever be. Today
Yeah.
was a test. Today was a test of that because I was like trying to make it go, and I'm like, just do this now. But no, it's one of those things that you have to be patient. You have to take the time to build these relationships so that people are really truly connecting with you and that they are getting to know who you are. But we've also got to go back to just some, basic 101 manners. We want to give this, we want to ask for so much, but what are we giving? Are we giving our time? Are we giving ourselves and our thoughts, or helping somebody navigate, or even as a job seeker to a job seeker, are you, do you have like a not even accountability partner, but just somebody that you can lend your advice to and
Mhm.
maybe get through that person. So I think you have to take two steps back before you think about like, am I asking too soon? And you really want to build that, and you want to build it and continue to develop. You want to develop a relationship. And the reality is, even here, it doesn't, from a virtual standpoint, it doesn't take, it's not this, it doesn't have to be months long type of, like a year later, you're finally getting around going, well, I don't need a job now. Why would I ask that person? But you don't know like what that person's impact's going to have on your ability, your abilities or how you might be able to network with them in the future. So don't ever underestimate building that relationship, taking the time to really nurture it and then watch it grow.
Great example. I was just having the visual in my mind because I'm a storyteller at heart, right? So everything goes to this visual snapshot. You cannot drink from the well and start. Can't build the well when you're thirsty. You have to build it, nurture. Same thing with the corn in the field. You have to plant the seeds and nurture them so that when you're hungry, it's time, or when you're thirsty, it's time, and the resources are now there because they're trusted, reliable, and you've earned the relationship. You've earned respect or mutual respect, right? Sincere caring. It's kind of gross and slick when somebody, I always call it like the itchy, scratchy moments when you feel like someone is so one sided in how they're approaching that moment with you that they've got their hand out before you even know them or before they even know you. And it repels people. It really, truly repels people. So, how do you stay authentic, be your authentic self, and show up? And part of it is about paying attention to what people like, what people do. So I just reached out. I'll give you an example. One of my old clients, she was a WebMD client, was an executive at Novartis years ago, and she's elevated up and elevated up and elevated up. And she's one of the nicest, sweetest people ever. But she is doing a scholarship program for Black law students. I didn't know that about her. Didn't know it about her. And I'm from a family of lawyers, and it just touched my heart the way they set up this entire program and the altruism that her family's putting forth to run this program. And I dropped her a message and said, Wendy, I love what you're doing. And by the way, count me in. If I can donate something, a talk, or support them, or a mentoring moment, or something, I'm happy to do it. Count me in. I'll follow up. Wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't offering to pitch paid event. It was using the power of LinkedIn to circle back with someone who I used to see on a probably monthly basis, but that was 10 years ago. So I'd say to remember that LinkedIn is a great place, not only to rock connections, ready, but reconnections.
Yep.
Think about the people who've been in your circle for years. And I'm loving my friend Darlena Rose showed up. She was just on Clubhouse with us this morning. And here she is now. She's like, you're all over the place, girl. I love her. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you, I can't even tell you how many years we met. So it's got to be 10 plus. I always put the blur after about 10 years plus, plus, plus.
Yep.
And she is an entrepreneur in the Philadelphia area, and she is a dynamo. And I did a live event one day where we promoted it on LinkedIn, and I was doing a live event at a country club in New Jersey. She came walking in that door and stayed there and showed up to support me. It was amazing. Real friends, real people. Don't just connect, but reconnect.
Yep.
Because, ready? Your friends, your past colleagues, your past clients have all built more relationships. You're growing and they're growing, even if you're not together. So it's not like, hey, Mel, what did you make for dinner? Or what did you barbecue on Sunday? Right? Did you do the pork or the chicken? Those are fine conversations. But what about those people from 2, 5, 10, 20 plus years ago? Darlene said, yes, she drove 2 hours each way to be there with us for a couple of hour event. She probably drove 4 to stay 2, literally. But because they've grown in different ways, you've touched each other. You can fast track and get past the gatekeeper. They will take your call and your message. Quick example, and I'm going to pass it back. I had a friend in Philly who was reestablishing her career. She just finished her executive MBA. We just helped her through that. And she wanted to start building networking to figure out her career path. I mentioned an old friend who was my first boss. Oh gosh, 2003. He was my manager, 2003. And I pinged him and I said, I just saw Tom Cruise on Top Gun. He's got nothing on you, because Tom Cruise's role is what Bill was in real life when he was in the military.
That's
Saw
cool.
you, Top Gun, Tom Cruise, you have a friend, need to meet. This is Friday at like 4:00. By 5:00, he messages back. Monday morning, 9:00, he, I, and our friend are on a 3-way Zoom virtual coffee. 3-way virtual coffees work because that's active advocating, active connecting. I'm not just telling Mel, go talk to someone and whispering it. I'm getting the two of you because you deserve to meet each other. And then I tell him why you're awesome and vice versa. And while we're on the phone with the three of us, she's like, Bill, your video picture's a little dark. If you're in sales and you're on here all the time, check this out on Amazon, $20. So she's helping him with a little
Building.
Amazon lighting tip. And 6 months later, she confessed to me. She said, I have to tell you a secret. What? We're now really good friends. I'm sorry. And I'm like, you're sorry. That was the whole idea to introduce you. So it wasn't on a transactional moment. She didn't say, oh, I graduated. I need a job. Can you help me? They both were from the same area. They both had kids the same age. They both like golf. They were both friends with me. You jump past the stranger status and you jump into a relationship faster because you're both trusted friends of the third person. So, not just connecting, reconnecting,
Yep.
and three-way virtual coffees make it a great place to bring people together for even if it's 20 minutes or whatever time you allow, but you'll know what you'll get that friend to pass go and collect the first $200. You jump past the stranger part like that
Yep.
and move forward faster. Go ahead, Mel. Can you give an example? Talk a little bit more
Yeah.
about some examples with connecting, and I'm going to check the chat while you do that.
Perfect. So one of the things that like I really do try to do, just because I do have a deep, wide recruiting, a lot of people within my background with recruiting. And I just did this where I'm part of a group on LinkedIn. And what I was able to do is I just made a post. I just made a post. And I said, hey guys, I have this really awesome candidate or client, just in the recruiter in me. I really feel like she's a strong candidate. I'm not wanting anything. I'm just literally looking to make some connections. Here's a little bit about her background, what she's looking to do. I literally had 3 or 4 people, recruiters say, hey, connect with me, send me her resume, let me, let's get introduced, did that. One recruiter is with Amazon. She's now on Friday. She has her big 5-hour Amazon interview, which we're doing a prep a little bit later on tonight because she's been preparing for it for over 2 weeks, and getting her ready for it. And so, but it's literally just that extra, that wasn't necessarily, part of what I do, quote unquote, for my client. They hire me specifically for resumes and things like that, but I wanted to extend her that opportunity to really, because I do think she has the ability to shine, and and I take on clients that I truly do believe in. So so that's one example of how you can even use this platform, but also how you can, really use a network. And the other thing too, is you never know who that other person knows on the other side. I get that all the time. I will tell people all the time, that they will, I'll say, hey, get connected with friends and family. And they'll be like, well, my family's not involved in, digital marketing or anything of that nature. And I'm like, do you know who every single person they're connected with is? And the answer is always no. We don't know. We don't know who they're connected with. So that's one of the things that I really highly recommend for people, is really to take those. Don't be afraid to connect with people. Look to see who they're connected with. Build from that relationship. Get those introductions. I just got off a client call earlier today with one of my former hiring managers when I was a recruiter. And he literally just saw a post I had made or a comment I had made, something like that, on LinkedIn. And he messaged me in that comment, and he literally said, he's like, message me, I want to hire you. Because he's like, things are changing, and he retired from this company and he's going into consulting. So, and, want to be able to, so now we're working on rebranding who he is on LinkedIn and what services, things of that nature that he offers. So, you just never know the power of your network, reconnecting like I did with this former client, but also who might be able to help open up doors for other people.
Absolutely. Door opening, door opening. Door opening, love it. Um, Darlena is so funny. She texted in the she's in the live chat and she said, "Every dud knows a stud."
That is
Right?
true.
So, if we're talking about it's not you, then who, right? If we're again not in this transactional only mindset, which again, it just makes me itchy. I feel like it oozes out of people's pores and they have no poker face when it comes to those gross moments. So, stop it. Cut the BS. Just stop. Because if you are willing to make connections, whether you're going through someone you new or no, or even if it's fresh outreach, why not be sincere about it? I just loved how you led. I reached out to so many people that I admired who hosted programs over the last month, right? Over during this month. So I've sat on Healthcare Businesswomen's Association. We had some amazing programming. I always reach out to the hosts because
Yep.
those are the influencers. So I
Yep.
will recap. Do you mind if I write a little blog or a little story about it? I want to recap some of what you shared because it was so impactful. They'll usually say yes. And now you start to have this back and forth conversation with them, which is so important. So follow up with people, introduce yourself. If you're going to an event, send it in advance of the event. Looking forward to seeing you speak on XYZ topic. I have a question. Where here's what's on the minds of folks I'm running across. Will you be addressing it? Start a conversation before, during, and after because those influencers have large audiences and they're real humans too. They're people.
Yeah.
And they are grateful when you pay attention. They are grateful when you listen. They are grateful when you repeat their words because people love to hear their own words back. Right. And so here's a ninja tip. I literally made inroads to huge circles of influence. I went to a like a women leaders award and there were 4 women at the stage and I did a recap of the awards and their life lesson for success. And I did exactly what I'm just telling you and went back to each of them. And I ended up really hitting it off with one in particular who invited me to be a speaker at her company. Then she invited me to speaker at her industry. Then the president of the industry invited me to be a speaker at her company. And then Turner Construction called and invited me to be a speaker at their company. And now all of a sudden, from me attending someone else's event, sitting in the seats, I wasn't running it. I wasn't an honored guest. I was literally in the seats like everyone else. But I built a dozen relationships over the next few years that changed the rest of my career in wonderful ways. And I don't only mean monetary, although, yes, I do also mean monetary. So pay attention to other people. If you hear something, by the way, here's a hint, hint, wink, wink, ready? If you hear a mention, if we're giving you advice that resonates, 2 things. You should be sharing this feed out because we're going to be live for another 30 minutes,
Yep.
answering questions, sharing advice. So share this feed out. Go ahead and requote what we're saying. Share it out. We are happy to give advice. We're happy to address your particular questions or to highlight any of the topics. If there's something on your mind, please, please, please let us know. But that's a great way to connect with us personally and professionally and to start sharing wisdom and genius and showing that you too are a thought leader, that you too care about personal branding, that you too want to lift yourself and help lift others up too. So it's an important part of that sharing is caring moment, right, Mel?
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to, you know, I think it's important to say, like, in the world that we're in today, whether you're in a position, already in a position and you're working, virtually, or you're job seeking, there's so much, this has become a piece that is now part of all of that. Once you're in a position, that doesn't mean we stop building relationships because we've obtained that job. Now we have other relationships we have to build upon and to continue to develop. And just like job seeking, we don't talk about job, I think we're doing better. I think coaches are doing better about talking about job seeking in the sense of that is part of networking. But for so long, that was never in the landscape. It get mentioned, but most people focused on applying for the jobs, but it wasn't talked about like reaching out to hiring managers, reaching directly out to them, tapping into companies that are on your wish list. Well, how do you develop, how do you develop those relationships, things of that nature. So, being connected with people is just, it's definitely changed. It's constantly changing. And, it's a must have for anybody right now.
And that's so true. Great points. And it's true whether you're looking for a job, a job, or a gig, or just to build your circle. All of the tricks and the tips that we're sharing can be applied to any of those circumstances. So, whether you're in sales, I mean, life is about being in sales. Being a mom is about being in sales.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
Right? How do we talk people into doing what we want and making them think it's their idea? Right? Life is about sales.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you a funny story. I was in a paid training and we were talking about sales funnels, and I had been forking over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it didn't quite work. And this woman, my coach for 9 months, turns around, gets on and says, "Oh, that's because I know why." And I'm thinking, why? And she said, "Because I think it's a really stupid idea to try to teach people how to connect better. Everybody just knows that. Why would they pay money to learn? And why is that important?" And I was thinking, oh, good gravy. You are not the right coach for me. This is the wrong group. I'm in the wrong
Right.
place. Um, yes, check, check, check. Bye bye. And I removed myself from their universe. It made me itchy at that to myself. That is the most naive comment I've ever heard. And so we're not
Yeah.
here trying to convince the converts. So this is not one of those take the people from the far left. No, right? The no to whatever you do, not those people, but the people who are open, aware of what you're doing, or open to what you're doing, or interested, or following you, and they're just about ready to pull the trigger. Those are the people you should be worrying about connecting with. I don't care. There's always going to be polarizing people. My dad, when he died, had 600 people at his funeral. 600 people at his funeral. And I realized part of it was because he was one of the most giving and brilliant people, but he was one of those bigger than life,
Yeah.
funny as, oh my gosh, I look quiet and shy compared to him. And yet you had to either love him or hate him immediately. There was not going to be a middle ground. Mel, he would love you. You'd be one of his daughters in about 4.5 seconds, and you'd be stuck with my family for the rest of your life. Like, we collect people. We really do collect people. And so
Yeah, it is
I think
true.
about it as being a people magnet. Same thing here. Even if there's a screen in front, so what? It's still about being a people magnet. It's about understanding who are your people and speaking directly to them, not as this blank group, but I know through years of experience who my ideal, if you want to say client avatar, I know it's a woman. She's between 45 and 65. She is probably married with 2 kids. She might be divorced. Her kids are probably a little bit older, maybe out of high school. I am it. Mel, you may wear my avatar, if you will. People
Right.
who've
Yeah.
worked really hard, they've been super successful, and then suddenly they feel like it's my time to shine and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do about it. They know that this aha moment is hitting. They're at a crossroads. They want inspiration, but they want motivation. They want to know how to move ahead, whether they want to move up where they are, move over, do what they do because they do it so well, or move
Yeah.
on to something altogether. And even more importantly, I realized my really, really, really key sweet spot are those leaders and organizations who are not only dealing with that for themselves, but they're responsible for other people. And so they want to be able to be clear on their goals and values and where they deserve to land and how to shine as a thought leader. And they want to make sure they lift their sisters and brothers, the people on their teams up too, because this great resignation is sucking the oxygen out of the room. It's keeping people up at night. It's killing their budgets. It's making it so hard. Restaurants can't keep tables. There's reservations. People are walking up and saying, oh, but there's open tables. Yeah, but they can't keep staff happy. So customer service is lacking. Every industry under the sun is having the same problem, but it all gets solved when you start going back and helping the leaders understand who they are, what's the personality of the organization, and who are those right fit people who will be those organic, natural brand ambassadors who ooze with welcoming you're in the right place and thank you for your patience. This will be great, but I appreciate your sense of humor, right? Whether you were serving food, whether you were the Macy's girl selling me my Michael Kors bag, whatever, right? You're a C-suite executive, right? We're helping leaders, women establish their seat at the table. They're like, the guys won't listen to me. Well, bullshit on that. There's ways around that. So know who your people are. Stop worrying about who are not your people. I don't expect everyone to love you or love me or love the leadership branding, but the smart ones do. And talk to
Well,
them. Talk
yeah,
to
I think
them.
you have to like also realize too, not everyone is going to, I'm not the coach for every single person in this world. I mean, that's the reality of it. And when you let go of that like burden of like you have to, like you have to appeal to everybody, guess what? You're not going to appeal to every single hiring manager that meets you. You're just not. You're not going to always be somebody's cup of tea. I was a producer, so I could produce, but did my executive vice president like me? No, he didn't like me. I mean, he never outrightly said it, but he never said he liked me. So, because I knew for him, he didn't understand how to deal with me. Like, I wasn't like my main motivator isn't money. And so for him, like he just is like, well, we're salespeople, money, it's all about the money. And so he just didn't know how to handle me. And but yet I'd highly produce. And so he's like, like that wasn't what my motivators were. I mean, of course I love the money and we all have bills to pay and I want the money, but he just never understood what to do with me. So we just always had a weird relationship, but that was the reality. I was never going to be his favorite branch manager. I was never, and I just, at the end of it, I just didn't care. And then he didn't even know what to do with me on that. So, but it was just like, but he also couldn't get rid of me because I was one of his best producers. So, but at the end of the day, I was just like, okay, I'm never going to make you happy. Like nothing I do is ever going to be good enough. And so once I let it go, it just allowed me to be really free of a lot of like pressure. And it probably even made me perform better because I didn't have to meet these unexpectations of, of what was, what he expected what he wanted out of a person in my role. And I was able just to fit that bill for myself.
And so now we're starting, I'm hearing corporate culture come into play,
Yep.
right? It's about making sure you choose, I'm going to call it a work family. And again, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you are an entrepreneur, do you want to work in a business or work on a business? Right? Do you want to run a business, own a business, be part of a business? Maybe you just want to do the task. Think about doctors back years ago went to medical school because they wanted to practice medical care. They did not go to be business people. They did not go to be insurance salespeople. That was not high on their priority list. I don't remember ever meeting a doctor telling me that that was their wish list, right? For the most part. They wanted to give care, and now that's become such a smaller part of what they do. So now they have a choice. Do they hire a business manager, an office manager who does that for them? So they get to just practice medicine more often. Do they hire NPs and PAs and other people who can also practice medicine so they can serve more people? Like, how do we grow in whatever it is we choose to do? And part of that is, what is the culture I want to set forth? How do I want people to feel when they work with me and or they work with my organization? Have I built a brand? So I've built Rockonsuccess. It's Pat Roque, but it is absolutely a much bigger family that's growing and growing and growing. And look, I'm looking, Mary's in here. There you go. She's like, is everybody listening? Pat is accurate. You rock. When people say you rock or the rock lady or success or rock, any of those words, people automatically go to me and my company. And luckily, it's not even just to me anymore because I'm learning how to be the C-suite, the CEO, the CAO, the Chief Awesome Officer of my, I made that up, of my own organization. So whether you are looking to be a solopreneur, an independent, a business owner, I was with Ed Samuels from our group. We just did
Yep.
a choosing your career path at 11 o'clock this morning. And he talked about, he helps a lot of people that want to go into franchise, for example.
Yep.
But no matter what you choose, thought leadership branding is important because there's a million places to buy subs, but I sat in Jersey Mike's. My cousin happens to be the head of media for all of Jersey Mike's. And I sat in a Jersey Mike's and I thought, why did I step in here versus across the street to the Italian deli or down the street to Subway or the 97 other places that I was able to choose from? And part of it was because I know they take good care of my cousin, but they're very charity oriented. They're very charity oriented. They do a ton to give back to their communities. And so if I had a chance to support one lunch provider at that moment, I went with the one that I could align with because I love what their company is about, what their brand stands for. Done. Right?
Yeah. And the same
We
goes when
pick
you
and
look
choose
for
all those moments. It happens subliminally, but I
yeah.
want you to all start paying attention to it. People are going to choose you. There's a million career coaches, Melanie, but you're amazing. So you're going to still stand out. You don't have to worry that there's plenty more. It just shows you that you're in a good market and to keep busy. Like I did more LinkedIn stuff and I realized that for me, I was limiting my audience because not all of my audience was actually on my, if people are on social, they're on LinkedIn, but I work with
Yeah.
a lot of professionals who are in high-end wealth management and women in finance, women in engineering. So it's a lot of those women in power industries. Not all of them use social media as well as they can or should. So when they're
Yeah.
able to, I help them be better, but I help them understand why it's important for them to stand out. There's a million wealth managers out there. There's a million. We're all
Yeah.
a commodity at the end of the day. How do you stand out as an authority, the go-to person for blank, fill in your blank, in your space? And if you find the right coach or program or process to help you think clearly on that, again, the thought leadership branding.club, come on in and join us there and have tens of thousands of colleagues and collaborators. You can come and step up on a stage and here or Clubhouse or Twitter space and practice and get your feet wet. But it's about becoming known as, so I'm the person who's helping companies figure out how to attract, engage, and keep people happy so they stay because you're going to help your people celebrate why they rock. It never occurred to me. The reason I was doing well as a career coach, an executive coach, is the exact reason the companies are hiring me now. I used to think, oh, they won't want me because I'm going to make their people leave. And my coach said to me, what are you, crazy? You have the secret sauce. You know why their people are going to leave. You can prevent that.
Well, and also
Hello.
companies are transforming because now all of a sudden we have a market where we have a really weird economy right now. So we're
Mhm.
facing inflation, and so I'm not an economist by any means, but one of my things as a recruiter and having been is understanding the job market and how it reacts with different economies. So we have an inflation looming economy, basically high prices, of course. Normally, that's not a good job market. Normally, people are staying. They're not, leaving in mass exoduses. It's not, it's pretty much stagnant. It's never like, oh, you may actually see more layoffs in this type of economy coming down the pipeline. But what we're seeing is we're not seeing the companies controlling the narrative. We're starting to see the employees control the narrative, which we've never, we only see that really in a really great economy. So it's a really weird market right now. And I think that's why companies don't know what to do. They're usually behind the curve. If there's hiring managers, it's the truth. Companies are 3 to 6 months behind the curve of any time, even bad economies. I've had, companies with hiring managers from, when we were in recessions that are literally like, well, I should be able to choose from 20 people. Well, that doesn't mean there's 20 people that meet your specific, from a funnel that they're here, yeah, there's all these people up here, but that doesn't mean they're meeting your needs. And so now the client company candidates are saying, wait a minute, I want work-life balance. I'm not happy that I don't get respect or I'm being underpaid for my job. So now they're taking this narrative. And so you really have to take that into account right now. And I think that's what companies are slowly coming on board and realizing, which is why they're hiring you to do this, because that's at the end of the day, they are saying, we've got to put a stop to this. What are we doing?
Absolutely.
You have to start looking at, whether when something's not working, sometimes you have to stop and you have to look inward. Hiring managers are not good at looking inward by the way. And so they're good at outward, but they're not good so now we have to really be able to look inward and say what's happening and how can we fix it.
That is true. So Darlene said the Great Resignation. So that's absolutely right. So that is now the trend where women and caregivers and minorities in particular have fallen so far off the corporate ladder that they are leaving in droves. It was like 4.4 million, 4.5 million, over 4 million people a month were quitting their jobs, and it's not slowing down. As a matter of fact, last year, so here's some fun facts. Maybe they're not so fun for you if you're on the painful side of this, but people were getting job offers and companies are willing to delay 3, 6, even 9 months to get you to come. I know people that received offers the first week of December that are not starting their new jobs till the middle of April because the new company let them wait it out to get fully vested, get their payout, get their 401k, and then get their bonus and their promotion and raise, knowing they're going to be leaving. March is an insane month. So if you're looking for a job or you're worried about your people leaving, you should be, because they are. I run executive roundtables. So every month I do a complimentary seat at the table for folks who run teams of 100 or 100,000 or more people. And so I get to hear firsthand through that and through things like I'm invited to the Wall Street Journal Women at Work conferences and such. And we get to hear firsthand what people are talking about, what's on their mind, why they're leaving, why they're staying, what are the things that you need to be doing about it. Women have fallen backwards in the growth in the corporate career path to 1987 numbers. It's staggering. The people in the executive roundtables, 20 to 25% of the attendees who are CHRO, top chief human resource officers, influencers and decision makers, have left their own companies. Some of them have quit. They came to a meeting and then they came back and said, "Oh yeah, I am the Great Resignation. I just resigned,"
We're seeing that
because they're exhausted. They're exhausted.
Yeah. Well, so much was put onto in the HR field in particular. I have a couple of clients with a very big consulting firm worldwide, and we've just seen a continuous exodus from them, from some of their top HR leaders. And the reality is that they went years just being unheard and then all of a sudden, the pandemic hits and we have to oh my gosh, we need a plan. We need and it's like, okay, now all of a sudden you need me, but I need this, what's the plan for my promotion? These are topics that I'm having, conversations with the people, considering, their play, and I'm telling, some of these people, no, right now, honestly, you put yourself in the market and, not that I want anybody to do this, but truthfully, some of these people in certain markets can put themselves in different places with, you don't have to even have the best resume ever, but honestly, just the experience and being able to get connected with the right people is going to open up doors for you. I mean, you want to have a full-on toolbox that's ready and accessible to go at your best. You want the best tools in your toolbox, of course, but the demand right now, and I think we'll go through at least probably through the summer, where we're going to still see hiring, hitting some of its highest peaks. Right now, we're not leveling off. Everyone's waiting for this leveling off period of when, the demand for hiring and the demand for people in the market you're pretty much, on par. And we're not seeing that. We're still seeing, and people are taking a lot of, there's people taking great risk, and saying, enough is enough. But at some point we do have to put our foot down and say, I'm not going to be behind the curve anymore. What do I have to do to push myself forward?
Exactly. So there's some trends that are bubbling up with that. First of all, people are starting to realize sometimes staying in their job is a risk itself, right?
Yes.
It's not the concrete it used to feel like years back. It's now as much quicksand sometimes as everything else. The other part of it is that there are boomerang people. So there's a lot of programs for returnships if people are looking to try to figure out how do I replace and go back into a workforce even if I've been out for years. There's LinkedIn's got stuff where you can describe your gaps, right? In your, which I'm not sure I'm a fan of that one. You can comment if you'd like, but right, but we've all, gaps are not uncommon. The trick was people used to have to be embarrassed and try to hide them, and now I think at a minimum, if you can at least articulate your intention, having a game plan and a strategy, or being able to show when this hit the fan and this happened in our lives, I took back some time, I reflected and realized blah blah blah, here's what I learned and here's how I applied it. Or I had time off because I cared for my brother was passing, cared for a dying family member, but while I was there, I used it to prolifically create content. I created the Rockonsuccess system. So much of it was written in an oncology word because I didn't feel like talking to people so much, but I had to get it out of me. So I made a venue for my grief and for my thoughts. How can you, audience, make good use of your downtime or your learning? Because when it hits the fan, oh, there's Sally. Hello, girlfriend. Right? When it hits the fan and you hear that alarm go off in the pit of your stomach, like I always say, right, Sally? When the genie pops out of the bottle, you can't shove her back inside. When you hear that calling, that voice that starts to get louder and louder and louder, and you realize there's something that needs to be adjusted. I need to do something better. It's my time to shine. We need to do more. Please pay attention. Reach out to myself, reach out to Melanie, come join Thought Leadership Branding Club, because we will help you start to figure out how to shine in your zone of genius, how to start articulating your value, how to become known for a thing, for something that matters. Thank you, Miss Lynn. Lynn Williams, again, another thought leadership branding
One of our colleagues.
extraordinaire, sharing some of the background information on our club, because we're in all the different spaces trying to lift each other up, making new friends along the way, making new collaborators along the way. But be ready. Use different keywords. Update your profile. Put a bio on your Clubhouse profile. Put a link to your freebie, your class, your offer. For me, if you're doing career soul searching, rockonsuccess.com/soul, SOUL. Make sure you pick an easy word, something you can say in an interview. rockonsuccess.com/soul. If you're having career soul searching or you're stuck, jump on over, check it out. It's free. It'll give you a chance to think out loud. And then part of the thinking out loud, I ask, who do you know who? Then you go back and watch this recording and say, oh my gosh, I know how to reach out to people now. They talked about it. Melanie helped me. Pat helped me. Melanie, what are some of your tips? We've got about 5 minutes to go. We're
I
going to
know.
be
I was gonna
winding down
say
shortly.
we're getting to that wrap up period of
We
time.
are.
Don't be afraid. I think people are so afraid to we think of networking of being, in a bar at 5 o'clock. Maybe the
Happy
drink,
hour.
I don't know. Maybe it does, but oh my God, I have to like awkwardly talk to somebody I don't want to talk to, or like we have these I think this like old school memories of what networking is, and networking's changed. Networking is such a in a virtual state. Even I know we're going back to face, but the reality is virtual is here to stay. If we've learned anything from the pandemic, we've gained that ability to understand that we can function in a virtual world and be successful with it. So that's something that's also really important from that perspective. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, introduce yourself. Reality is, what is the worst thing they can ever say to you? Either they say no or they say nothing at all. But you've lost, what? You haven't lost anything. You just keep moving until you find that person that does value that connection, that does value this conversation, and put yourself out there. And that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give to somebody. And if you actually go to my website, find www.findsucceedachieve.com, I have a journal. You can download a journal, it's a career journal prompt. It's super easy, 5 super easy questions that you can download. But it just really gets you to think about what you want for your career. Where do you want to go? What is important to you? And what is that next step? So if you're on that fence, and you're seeing everybody else out there going, should I stay? Should I go? Give yourself credit, give yourself some of that, credit, and really explore those opportunities.
Repeat that website one more time. Make sure we've got it. Can somebody type this in the chat?
Yeah. Findsucceedachieve.com. So you can also go to my LinkedIn page, and it's there as well. So
perfect. And for me, it's rockonsuccess.com/soul, SOUL. Again, if you're looking for career soul searching, rockonsuccess.com/soul. Or if you're a leader looking for insights on the Great Resignation and what the top 20 ideas companies are using to attract, engage, and keep the right people happy so they stay, rockonsuccess.com/insights. It's a brand new, hot off the press insights paper for our corporate leaders. So we've got lots of resources, lots of advice. You've got people in the chat. Please follow Miss Melanie Wexler and myself and the Thought Leadership Branding Club. We would love to have you join us. Jump up on stage. You're an expert too. This is just a great place to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because somebody needs to hear your message too. Melanie, we're good for the day?
We are good for the day. I'm actually jumping off and jumping on another call. I have calls all day today. So I'm going to jump off here, but it was great to have this chat. And, we'll definitely think about being able to do some more of these in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. God bless. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.